called in
to Box and Brews, you might hear something
you can use.
like tips on your cash or tips on the suds.
You're gonna want to
The
use
smarts of these stuff.
because they know the brews.
And they know the box, and they know they can't help the stubborn fucks.
So listen up, because shit's not funny.
And save yourself some
Beer money. Bucks
and brews.
Bucks and
Bucks and brews.
brews.
Bucks and Brews.
Welcome back to Bucks and Brews. Nick, it's been a couple weeks, actually.
I'm sorry, okay?
You were sick.
Dude, my family got real sick.
It's going around the kids,
Yeah.
and they're bringing it home from school.
I think that's exactly because, like, Emerson, she was not feeling good.
Mhm.
And then, like, I died, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny. My wife always, like, I'm that guy. Like, when he gets sick, he just crawls up into a ball and, like, feed me. And,
You're a baby.
But yeah, like I was on the couch and I was up and kind of trying to do stuff. And I closed my fucking pool, okay? But I almost passed out like 3 times. That's how sick I was. Saturday, so my wife got it later than me, and then Saturday, she like all she did was spend the whole day in bed. And I was like, who's sick now? So
That's awful.
yeah, this day it was a win for me. But it has been a couple weeks. I finished my liquid diet.
Yes.
10 full days of just liquid drinks, no alcohol, protein drinks basically,
Yeah.
and some. The one thing about being sick is I had beef broth, which but without the noodles kind of sucks.
Yeah. It does.
So, and so tonight, guys, I hope you don't mind. I am drinking some sparkling ice black raspberry, sponsored by Break Room Therapy here,
Yeah,
because
you're very welcome.
David's cold water tap doesn't work.
We'll get all the hot water you want.
Well, normally I can get it and it's like cold right away, and
Yeah.
I don't know, for some reason let it keep going while you and I were jaw jacking. I grabbed my cup and I was like, I'm not drinking this warm water. So what are you drinking, my friend?
I'm back to what I had a couple weeks ago from New Holland. I have the Ichabod Pumpkin Ale, which is different than the pineapple.
That sounds so good.
And from Shorts, a soft parade fruit ale. So
Yeah. I think I have a couple more weeks and I'll be right back onto the drinking something.
Well, that's
kick.
good because Mr. Michael Benson is sponsoring you with many sours.
I'm so excited. So something near dear close to my heart, some real estate. We have a guest tonight
We do.
from beautiful California, Mr. Jim Lee. So Jim, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I already introduced where you're from, and I'm jealous of your weather. I'm going to come visit you.
Yeah, sure. Whenever. So I obtained my economics degree back in UCLA 2010, and I've been a real estate investor since my first W-2 job right after the college. And was fortunate enough to land a job as an inside sales rep working at LoopNet. Now, for those that don't know what LoopNet is, it's basically Zillow for commercial real estate. And so in there, working in the company, I was able to talk to real estate investors, agents, property managers, lenders on a daily basis. So I kind of learned the importance of having multiple streams of income. So that's how I started real estate for additional passive income and never looked back.
That's amazing. I've never met anybody that worked for LoopNet. And yeah, so if
You and I both know it.
yeah, it's so weird because, like, I mean, it really is, the MLS for commercial
Yeah.
real estate. I mean, so your bigger things. I mean, on there you'll find apartment complexes. Yeah, on the MLS you'll find that as well. But like this is, so if you're in residential, you'll find the big stuff there. You'll find, your auto zones, your triple net lease things over there.
We
So,
found this building
yeah, so
through LoopNet.
there you go. So it really is huge. And sorry, you did inside sales for them. So you were just trying to get, what were you trying to get for them?
I was trying to sell subscriptions. So
Okay.
the concept with LoopNet, as you guys may be aware of, you can create a free account, right? And back in the day, like 10 years ago, it was the concept is free cannot see free. So if you're a free searcher, you cannot see the free listers. What that means is that if you want everyone's eyeballs on your listing, then you have to pay to list, right? And then vice versa. If you want to be able to see everything, you have to pay to search, right? Including the free listing. So my role at the company was just to sell a subscription, get them to upgrade to the pay searcher or pay lister.
That's awesome. And do you still work for them?
No, I stopped working for them 2014, and then I kind of hopped around from one W2 job to another, and eventually became a realtor in 2018. And
Okay.
that's how I started, being more aggressive with investing real estate and trying to make a career out of real estate.
So right after your first W-2, or
Mhm.
so in your first W-2, so at LoopNet, you said you bought your first rental property.
Yes,
Okay. And so you were probably what, like 22, 23?
I was around 25.
Okay, 25. And where will you walk me through that, where it is, like what it was, and if you still own it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I still own it. It's a short sale, 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom condo, 600 square feet, and it took me a year to close the property.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah, because it took the bank a year to approve the price that I
Yep.
had submitted. And a year later, they came back with me saying that they want 10,000 more. I turned that down, but the agent said, "Hey, you waited this long, just give them something." So I gave them $1,000, and we were able to close the deal that way.
Okay.
Um, and I was pretty actively involved in that deal. I pretty much dealt with the tenant, toilet, trash, on my own. I did the maintenance, collected the rent, run the background check, and I realized that I don't want to be that actively involved because you hear people talk about investing in real estate. Oh, you invest to get passive income, but they don't see the headaches behind the scene, right? And I kind of went through that motion and learned everything I needed to, and so that's when I started to delegate all the tasks away to the property manager to help me manage it for me.
Great. Um, 2 bed, 1 bath, 600 square feet. That sounds like a fucking mansion. Is that in California?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so so you were hands on, so it's near where you live, and you still own it. What did you? Okay, so what year did you buy that? Do you know roughly?
I bought that 2015.
Okay, and a short sale in 2015. That's wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and do you care to share some numbers? What you bought it for?
Absolutely. So I bought it for 145,000, and then it's appreciated to 350,000
Good for you.
in today's market. Since it's
One,
a short sale, it was a cash offer. So
yeah,
I managed to save up a good chunk of money before I bought this condo, and it just worked for me
sure.
at that time.
Yeah, 145. So you offered 144 and then you got it for 145.
Yes.
So that's that's pretty good. All right, too bad. What does it rent for?
Currently in this market, it rents for 2,200.
2,200 for 600 square feet. And
You're in the wrong state.
I'll say I am, but I say I want to step back and one thing you said that just it hits so home to me is how many people don't realize what a hands-on real estate investor deals with, right? You said you're dealing with the toilets, the trash, all of it. I mean, every day I have gotten a little lazy, but like every day I'm there in the yard picking up the trash in my apartment complexes. Like I'm constantly doing stuff, right? Like it's not like I don't have a job. I'm still working, just fixing people's crap. So
I mean,
yeah,
you could have a property manager.
I could have.
You
But
are the property
yeah, I
manager.
say they property managers just suck. So my philosophy is nobody's gonna do a good enough job the way I do it, right? So I take pride in what I do. Um so all right, so you have the condo, and then you said you hated being the hands-on landlord. So what did you do from there?
So from there, I started to create a list of vendors that I can start building relationship that I can trust in case I have any maintenance issues. And then I kind of self-managed for a little bit until I got to a point where it doesn't make any sense for me to be hands-on. I just delegate tasks to property manager. But there's pros and cons to it, just like you said, right? Sometimes you feel like you can do everything better than anyone, so you don't want to delegate any tasks. But with property manager, you pretty much have to now it's like you have to manage the property manager, right?
Yep.
And it's that also has its own headache, its own problem. But if you find the right people, get the right people on your bus, then usually it shouldn't create that much of a hassle.
Sure. And did you go through a bunch of different management companies? Did you find the right one right away? How'd that work out?
Yeah, I went through some trials and errors.
Say, I find that with a lot of people, right? You're like, oh hey, because first time you're like, oh, I don't want to pay. I don't. What percentage does your property management company out there take?
They take 1%, 1 to 2%.
That's it
Per month. I'm
Shit.
talking.
You're in the wrong market.
So here in West Michigan, I know the lowest I think I've heard is like 5.5. That's if you own more than like 10 units or something.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like normal for us, just normal is 10%. And then Airbnbs and stuff is like 25%
Oh, yeah.
for, but you're getting they're only charging you one. Hell, I would pass off all my shit for 1%, right? It is not worth my head. I'd hand them my entire list and go, here, these are the people I want called. When things go wrong, you just handle the call. For 1%, shit. I'd raise that 1% right now. I just tell my tenants, hey, you're getting a 1% increase right now.
No, you wouldn't.
I would right now for 1%. Somebody says it. No. But so now have you added to your portfolio?
Yeah. So I started syndicating.
Oh shoot.
Yeah. So syndication. Yeah, I started syndicating multifamily apartments out in Florida. My first deal was 200-unit apartments, and then my second deal was 400-unit apartments. But it's a team collected effort. It's not just by myself. There's like 5, 6 other general partners on the team as well.
So for everybody that doesn't know, because David and I talk about it a little bit, but would you mind walking us through what syndication is?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So a syndication is basically a partnership between investors who pool their resources together into a single investment. This allows you to invest in multi-million-dollar deals like multifamily properties, which is the asset class I'm in, or any commercial buildings. Syndication eliminate much of the risk while sharing the upside. The property generates an income and it gets split amongst the investors. So it's a win-win scenario for everyone.
And so you said, sorry, you have like 6 GPs, general partners.
Yes.
And how many out of those? So I guess to dive into it, the GPs, then you guys have to go raise capital for your down payment and for your now. Okay, so you raised capital for your down payment, I assume, and then I assume you also raised I can't think of the word, extra money for your
reserves and CapEx.
Reserves. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I assume you had to go raise that. So did each partner have to bring in a certain amount of money? How did you guys structure your syndication?
It just depends what each of the GP's skill set offer, what we can offer to the table, right? How can we add value to each other? So I didn't have any experience with syndication, so obviously I needed to partner with someone who has that track record, that experience, right? When I was a realtor, I was calling a list of absentee owners, and so through that, I was able to build up a list of investors. So I had some capital to work with. But I was lacking the deal. I was lacking the experience and asset management part of the business, right? So my role as the syndicator was to mainly raise capital, and also do some investor relation and marketing. Whereas my business partners, they would offer, to take over to find the deal, underwrite the deal, and then close the deal and manage the deal. So they work primarily on the asset management portion of the business.
Okay. And so then with your syndication, so you're bringing in private investors. Now, are you guys doing accredited investors or non-accredited?
Depends on the deal structure. Yep. Every deal is different. If you are on, because when you take money from when you generate income for and you take money from some an investor, you have to follow the securities guidelines, SEC, right?
Yep.
And there's an exemption you can select, which is 506B or 506C, like what you talked about, whether we take accredited investor or not. And so some deals, the first deal, actually my first two deals is under 506B, so we're able to take non-accredited investors, but we're not able to advertise the deal.
Right. And you're limited to one, is it 25 or 100? I forget, of non-accredited investors.
25.
25. Okay. Yeah. And so non-accredited means you have a net worth that's not $1 million. And then when you're saying also on this type of a deal, you can't market it, right? You can't go out and raise money from people that you don't know. So it has to be quote unquote friends, family, people that you know personally on a level. So they trust that you trust them. So and so you guys raise this, and then can you break down, I guess, your GP, how much you guys get and what you were predicting for your investors?
Yeah, absolutely. So as GP, we make money on acquisition, asset management, like discussed, disposition, and refinance. So anytime pretty much there's a capital event, we can take 1%. When we sell the property, we take 1%, and then acquisition, it varies between 1 to 3%, depending on how the size of the deal. The bigger the deal, the smaller acquisition we take. So if it's 100+ unit apartment, we take 1%. But if you're syndicating, let's say 20 units, you can probably charge 3% on that. Asset management is basically also 1 to 3%, and it's just based on the rental revenue you get per month. But those are only split amongst the the GPs that's handling asset management. The people that raised capital, all we get is the acquisition pretty much and disposition. The pro forma that we project is pretty standard. I'm pretty sure you've seen this online. It's 8% preferred return, 70-30 split, anything above that, and it's 2x equity multiple.
Okay. Let's say, and then so sorry, we're breaking that down real quick. So you guys are only taking 1%. That's a really good for a GP, that's really low for a lot of the things that I've been seeing for syndicators. And then you said the words correctly, right? So you're giving an 8% preferred return, right? Because you can't guarantee returns. So you can't say the word guarantee, because otherwise then you're on the hook to make sure that every single time if the asset doesn't perform, you can't guarantee it, right? So it's a preferred return. So they get the first 8% preferred, and then you do 70-30 is what you guys do, and that's 70% to the investor and 30% to you guys on the acquisition side.
Yeah.
Okay. And then and then you said there's one other thing, two times anything after that, right? What was that about? Sorry.
Oh, 2x equity multiple. So what that means is once we go through the end of the cycle and we sell the property, you can expect 2x of your money back. So if you put in 100,000, you can get 200,000 back. And typically we hold the property for 5 years.
Okay. And then you're refining or you're selling?
We refi typically in year 2 and year 3 whenever interest rate is good. So right now it would be really tough to refi. We'd have to wait until the Fed drops the rate. But it also depends on how far our renovation has completed. So, but once we add value, we're able to increase the income, and that's when we'll be able to refi at a low rate to pull some capital out and make distribution to the investor so they can re-leverage and invest in other things.
Sure. And then, so now you're refining, or so you're paying off your investors. Do they stay part of the deal, or are you paying them off?
No, their equity still remain in the deal.
Okay.
Yeah, we're paying them off the money that they had put in, but the
Sure.
equity is still there.
Sure. And then now let's say, and then they're gonna go reinvest that into something else. So when you're doing your refinance, you mentioned doing improvements and I know this stupid. Sorry, my brain is still bad from being sick. Um, you're doing improvements to renovate the units and things. Can you walk us through how you're making these places better?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll talk about our most recent deal. It's in downtown Dallas, Class A apartment building. It's built in after 2000, 200 units. This deal we're looking at how can we add value to Class A, right? Because it's new construction. Usually there's not much meat on the bone, but we're able to uh, differentiate a couple of the things. One thing is that in the neighborhood, there's a lot in the apartment complex. There's a lot of people that have pets, like dogs, cats, stuff like that. And then so they requested that we have a pet washing station. So that could be installed in the garage. Storage space is another big thing that people look out for. Because there's a lot of stuff that people need to store, and typically when they rent, the room is not, it doesn't provide enough big enough room for them to store stuff. So that's another big one. We also digitize like laundry room, right? Make everything all basically just Apple Pay now, instead of having cash, coins and stuff like that. So there's like little things here and there that you can add value. And if you're able to add all these amenities, you can also increase the bottom line, which is the rental income.
Sure. Yeah, I said the value.
Besides obviously fixing up the rooms and upgrading to
Yeah.
quartz countertops and stuff like that.
Yeah, I say, and I like to think that nobody else does real estate. It's hard for me sometimes because I'm just like, yeah, I get it. But you said, hey, this is an A neighborhood. Walk me through, I guess, what you mean by an A neighborhood. Is there other letters? Question mark.
Yeah, so there's a multifamily. There's what's considered class A, B, C, and then there's D2. A is like in the heart of
Sorry, there's D2. Like he doesn't touch
Yeah.
D. You could just tell.
Yeah.
Like he's like, no,
Well,
I don't.
D you already know it's like in the hood, and
It's like
so
Detroit. Yeah.
yeah. Like you can see like bars on the windows. That's D
Right.
neighborhood.
Yeah. It's the same.
A is basically the mainly usually in downtown, the heart of downtown. It's very convenient. You can walk to any place, to the stadium, maybe 2 blocks away. It's all about location. That's what real estate is about. But besides that, it depends on what year it's built. So if it's built after in the past 10 to 20 years, those are typically considered A. And then anything that's built after 1980s considered B, 1980 to 2000, and then 1970s is C, and then so forth. Because the older the building, the more deferred maintenance, the more things that's going to something's bound to go wrong. Whether roof leaks, whether plumbing breaks, whether there's just a lot of things that could happen when you take an old building.
Yeah, and I like to look at A as in they're going to be your professionals, right? Your doctors, your lawyers, those types of things. B, I try to tell people, I was like, that's your working class, upper, I can't say upper management, like your middle
White
managers.
collar.
Yeah. And then, C's,
More your blue collar.
yeah. So, the guys that are working, right? Physically doing things. And then your D class, that's neighborhoods that are a little tougher. People aren't keeping up on things. You got a boat next to a broke down car, next to things on the wind. If the car's, not on blocks, that type of a thing. The things you see in movies.
Like he said, bars on the windows.
Right. That's exactly it.
If you've ever drove through Gary, Indiana, those type of places.
Right. So, and okay. So like A class neighborhoods, and I like that you gave great examples. I mean, storage is huge, right? Especially if you're in the downtown area. There's not, people have these smaller apartments and they like to have stuff, but they still need places to put things. The pet wash, I think, is absolutely a huge. I mean, have you guys put that in already?
We're in the process of doing so.
Okay,
It's in construction.
Well, that's going to be a question for when you come back on, because I want to know how much that generates. Because that's an amazing. You're the first to tell me that that's an add-on that you're doing, and I think it's great. And then the Apple Pay, right? So in my apartments, right, everything is coin laundry. I mean, I'm not going to put Wi-Fi in because I'm not in an A neighborhood, right? My people, they're just so used to coin. They're always going to have quarters. They're going to have,
Would you know how to use Apple Pay?
not a fucking chance.
That's what I mean.
So
You're not putting it in because you have no fucking.
no,
clue.
I have a company that does my laundry
Okay.
for the next who knows how many years.
Do
Actually,
they know how to use Apple Pay?
of course they do.
Oh, okay.
Well, because yeah, the company,
Just asking.
yeah, because I'm gonna change and I'm gonna actually own my own laundry whenever I can. I'm under like a 5-year contract or something. So, oh my gosh, that's gonna be coming up soon. Thanks for this conversation.
You're welcome.
Say I've owned the
Glad to
building,
help.
owned the building for quite a while. And so those are great ways and it's weird because just like America, right? I mean, if you can spend it on a card, you will.
Oh,
It
yeah.
takes you a lot more to go spend those quarters than it does for you just to go click, 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 click. So what I'm getting for $1.50 for washing, he's going to get $2.25 just because somebody can tap their card, right?
Uh-huh.
And they have no problem doing it because it comes out of the account, right? So, but and then so you're raising in things besides just increasing the units and upgrading rent cost. You're doing other great value add things, which I absolutely love. I think that's a great thing for A class. And you're projected to still hit the growth potential that you guys want, huh?
Yep.
That's amazing. And what's the purchase price? You said 200 units?
Yeah. 200 units.
Do you guys own the top third and the bottom third, and somebody else owns the middle third?
No, we own the whole complex.
Oh, okay. I just got pitched a syndication where they own the top, the middle, or the bottom. They're working on purchasing the middle and I was like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And that's in downtown Dallas too. So,
Yeah.
I was like, man, I wonder if I part of this syndication. So, so you're gonna get projected. And who found this deal?
It's through Network, one of our lead sponsor that he's had really strong relationship with this agent, pretty much the top agent in downtown Dallas. And he was the only person that saw the deal. It was an off-market deal. Seller's hand was tied behind his back because, as we're going through a lot of there's $2 trillion of commercial debt that's expiring in the next year. So what's happening with the market is that he's on bridge loan, variable interest rate. So it's tough. He's currently sitting on negative cash flow. So he had to sell the building. Yep. And we were able to the lead sponsor was able to just go straight to the seller and negotiate the price, and we acquired this building for $500,000 less than it was previously purchased back in 2019.
Okay, so he's going to eat that cost of $500,000 unless because I don't think he's paid down that much. What's the total cost of it? I'm sorry, did I miss that?
30 million. 40 million.
40 million. Okay, yeah. So there's a chance that he has that buy down of 500K less. Well, say down payment, yeah, but he'll eat that cost. I mean, right? He's not profiting and he has negative cash flow. So,
yep.
Now, and so that's what you're currently doing. Are you still an agent then in California?
I do. I have my license just in case if any friends, family is looking to sell a house. But that's not my main focus. I love what I do. I love doing syndication, and I want to continue to build this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and then are you, what is it, 100 unit club? Is that one of the syndication club? Are you part of that club?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I actually just started syndicating about a year ago. I started networking 3 years ago.
Okay.
I started studying about syndication 2-3 years ago, but it took a process, took a lot of struggle and obstacles to finally find a partner I can trust, and I just syndicated 2 deals last year.
Good for you. And then so you went from 600 square foot condo to a 200 unit building.
Yes, sir.
Like there, nothing in between. You said, I'm done with this petty little small stuff. Let's just go gusto, huh?
Yeah,
Good for you.
pretty much.
And are you now you're full-time real estate then?
Yeah,
Okay.
full-time syndicator. Yes.
Full-time syndicator. That's great. And in a matter of just years, that's a heck of a thing to do. So what's next? I mean, so you mentioned Florida, Dallas. Where won't you guys go?
We go where the deal goes, actually. Wherever the numbers make sense. That's we pretty much look at, the pretty straightforward matrix. Sunbelt states, where anywhere there's sunshine, population growth, job growth. Something that's very important to us is business, landlord, politically friendly states.
Sure.
That's very important because my partner, he syndicated out here in California, and because of eviction moratorium,
Yeah.
a lot of his tenants stopped paying, and we want to mitigate as much risk as possible for our investors.
Yeah.
So that's why we invest in those states.
Surprising that California is pro tenant. I wouldn't believe that. Sorry.
So full of shit.
I would say no, it was, and now did you, so you're not in the daily the day-to-day then of the leasing and all that for the properties and the management, are you?
No, I'm
Leadership?
not. But eventually I want to get into it. Again, I just lack experience right now. And I think just going through the motion of these two deals right now, I'm actually learning a lot. In fact, I already have capital calls on both deals. And yeah, so I'm learning how these lease sponsors are dealing with tough situations.
Yeah.
Like,
if you want, I can come rent your condo and I will show you how to be a great landlord. I will just do everything that I know that I've gone through, and we'll see how long it takes for you to evict. And you just keep renting it back to me, and then the faster you can get me evicted, the better it will be. So it's just, I tell people this all the time. I was like, you want to know what it's like to be a landlord? I'll come be your tenant. So
I would never want you to be my tenant.
dude, I'd be like I am for umpiring, right? I give umpires so much crap because I was one. I know what it's like.
So I was telling one of our employees, who,
Yeah.
about you coming in here for a session.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, because Nick goes, well, I can break everything in the fucking room. And I go, if you break that crate, it's $50. I said, I got Nick in that room, and he goes, if any of you motherfuckers break this crate, I'm gonna break your face.
Yeah. It's fun. So why are you still holding the condo?
It's currently it's pretty much the only stream of income I have, because I do with syndication, right? We're constantly reinvesting that money back into the business to add value, to renovate, and so we haven't made any distribution. And the only time we're actually going to get some money back on the preferred return is when we have a capital event like refi we talked about, or sell the property. So right now, it's been pretty. I would have to be transparent. It's just been a struggle. It's just we haven't made any distribution, nothing, and so because of how fast debt has gone up, to be able to service that debt, but on top of that be able to continue to add value. That's pretty much where I'm at with my syndication deals. That's why the condo is just the passive income that I'm basically using to continue to build my business.
Sure. And that's a great reason to keep it. And that's I think you agree with this. I mean, you pretty much just said it, but like real estate's not a get rich overnight kind of a thing, right? It
takes time.
Long-term, it's a long-term wealth growth, right? I mean, when the building's paid off, and what do you guys normally get out there, like 20-year financing or 25?
Yeah, it depends. If you're looking at agency debt, around there, 20 to 25.
Okay. And then let's say, for normal, it's 30 years for traditional housing. I mean, you can get some SBA loans, Small Business Association loans. for complexes, and has to be over $1 million of stuff. But you know, it's really, you're not making, you know, sure, you're making $100, yay. Like, you know, I say you said 2,200 is what you're getting for income. Now, that's not like what you're, everybody thinks that that's what you make, right? So if you pay me 2,200 in rent, oh man, my landlord's getting 2,200. Granted,
no.
he said it's paid off, but what are taxes? You know, what are taxes on this condo?
1,700 for the year.
Oh, that's really, really cheap. And then
It's cheap because it's 600 square feet.
yeah, but still. So and now, okay, so here's my question. I don't own any condos because I don't like associations. What is your feeling and opinion? And then can you tell me where you started with your HOA and where it currently is?
Yeah, so you hit it right on the nail. I hated HOA, and that's why I kind of moved away from condo, because anything you do with the condo, you got to get approved. You got to get, you got to go through a process basically. And so I started paying the HOA at 280. Now it's gone up to 360. Property insurance, I used to pay $200 per year. Now it's gone up to 500. So that's in the span of since 2015.
Okay, so we're at 360, so 410, and you said 150. So $600 of that is taxes, insurance, and HOA fees.
Does anybody like an HOA?
Yeah,
Who?
the guy that's running it, that's making all the money when
Yeah,
it
but that's the
scams
only
people.
one.
Say,
The people on the board of the HOA like it and everybody else hates it.
oh gosh, yes. So I mean, no, one of my plumber is the president of his HOA and he fucking hates him.
My daughter has an HOA.
Yeah.
She's not allowed to have a grill anymore.
Oh, no girls on the deck.
And mind you, she lives on the ground floor. You want to know why?
Somebody burned it.
You damn right they did.
Yep. Mine. So my lease states that you cannot have a grill on the deck. You can't have a grill on the patio. You can't have a grill. And everybody has a grill, but when I get sued, no, my lease states that, like, this was not permitted. And I tell my tenants, look, I'm not going to go throw it away, but I've told you can't have it. What you do with that knowledge, that's on you. So if I'm correct, I mean, minus $600, you're at like $1,600 a month, minus cap. So we have said capex. Let's explain what capex or capital expenditures are to people, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, capex is basically the fund that you use to add value to the property, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it depends on the situation. So if you have, let's say, if you have a tenant turnover, you can use that capex money to clean the carpets, paint the walls, get the units ready for the next tenant to come in.
Sure. And a lot of capex is I mean, yours is mostly covered in an HOA fee. So right, they're going to take care of your siding, your roof, and now does your HOA, do they cover your plumbing and your furnace, or nope? So everything on the inside is your responsibility. Everything on the outside is your HOA's. Okay. So it's like normal, but so, but now you have capex for you. It'd be your furnace and your AC and, your plumbing and things like that, to upgrade. So, out of 16, you're probably profiting, $1,000, but it's because your property's paid off, right? I mean, let's just give or take some, but say, it's that's without, say, gosh, how often are you getting turnover in your condo?
So far just one time my whole life. So
good for you.
Yes, because I built really good relationship with my tenant, and she takes care of my condo like she owns the home. So I'm really thankful for that.
And when you, okay, so I guess, so you've had the same tenant for 8 years, or you've had one turnover?
Yeah, one turnover. So I had one tenant for 3 years, and then ever since then I had the same tenant for 5 years now.
Yeah,
since 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you first rent it out for when you bought it for 145?
Uh, I rented out for, I believe, 1,400 or 1,500.
Yeah, so about the 1% rule. And then now you're at 22. And uh did you have you raised rent on the tenant from in the 5 years?
Initially I didn't.
Okay.
Initially it was when the new tenant had moved in. I think I rented for 1,800 around that time, or 1,900.
Okay.
And I didn't raise the rent until literally last year,
Yeah.
because this tenant has been so good to me, and I just didn't feel like the need to. But
Yep.
because of inflation, because of what happened 2020, all those,
Yep.
trillions of dollars being printed, now it's like everything has gone up, and I have to charge, more
Yeah.
to
And
offset the cost.
it's wear and tear. I mean, people don't understand how much, I mean, my plumber used to cost 145 and now it's 185, right? And that $40 time, sure. And on one, it doesn't seem like much, but if you're getting multiple calls again, so that $1,000 is what you're living off of. Now you have minus $200 for one call. You're at $800 that month. Like it's, and what okay, so you want to get into the leasing side, because you guys have a really weird syndication to me. I enjoy the structure because of how cheap it is, but it's weird. I feel like your general partners are all kind of getting screwed in one way or another. Because normally the GPs that I know of, right, they're all getting the cut because everybody puts in all the work and everybody gets a cut, right? So hey, management, we're all splitting this 1%, which is crazy that you're doing it for 1%. Hey, we're all splitting this, we're all doing that. So what makes you want to get over into the other side of things?
Oh, you mean asset management? Well,
Yeah.
eventually I want to be able to be the lead sponsor of my deals. I want to be the head that runs the deal, that oversees the deal, that makes all the decisions. Because that's where the money's at, asset management. And plus, when you run your own deal, you can charge whatever fees you decide to, because at that point you've built a network of investors that already trust you, that have already invested with you previously. You've already made them money. So
Yep.
now you basically just you're in the driver's seat. Whatever you say pretty much goes
Yep.
at that point.
And so you guys so how long ago did you buy your first one and you haven't had a disbursement?
Yeah, so we bought it July of last year.
Okay. And so it's been over a year and no disbursements. What's changed? What's going wrong with that versus what your predictions were?
Sure. So, like I mentioned earlier, I got capital calls on both deals, and the way both deals, it's very different because the second deal. Okay, I'll talk about the first deal. The first deal we got it's a 200 unit apartment building in Orlando, and we got a capital call because the lead sponsor had gone too aggressive with the renovation. He Upon taking over the project, he renovated 1/3 of the apartment in literally 3 or 4 months, like by the end of last year. And so he was way ahead of the time, and marketing didn't catch up. So our occupancy rate was at between, I think at the time was like 79%, 80%. So as that's not enough to cover the debt. And so we had to had a capital call. But the guy, the way how he operated, I like what he does, is because he made a decision that, hey, instead of putting the pressure on the limited partner, let's just have the capital call amongst the general partner. Let's not get them involved.
Sure.
So we all agreed to that. And in the end, he was able to get some money out of the lender. The lender released some of the reserve funds. So he had a really strong relationship with the lender. So that was the first deal. And then the second deal, we basically just had to, put in the money as loan for now. So and both deals, it's same scenario. Just because debt cost has gone up so much, it's just really difficult times. And it's, if your occupancy rate is not at 90%, you're gonna be in negative cash flow with this interest rate this high. So that's what a lot of syndicators are dealing with right now.
So do you have somebody forecasting on what the market's going to look like in the next year, 2 years?
For the commercial world, you're
Yeah.
gonna see a lot more deals. So literally back in 2020, right, when everybody felt wealthy and rich, it was really easy to raise capital, and there wasn't as many deals out there. But now it's like literally shifted. Now there's a lot more deals, but no capital. Nobody wants to invest. Everybody wants to sideline. Everybody's scared. And I wouldn't say there's a lot more deals. There's just there's potential for more deals because right now sellers' expectation still hasn't come down. Buyers trying to buy, but they can't pencil the deal to work out, right? Because the interest rate is so high. So sellers gonna have to come down on the price, but they're not budgeting the price. So it just depends. Go ahead. It just depends on whether or not they can service it.
That way she
Right.
feels like, hey,
With commercial real estate right now, it's tough for them with still having many people working from home. You're seeing a lot of these companies, calling people back to the office just to use that space again.
Right, exactly. It really depends on the company, I suppose, because some companies, they like Microsoft. I know a friend that works in Microsoft. They encourage, working from home, working remotely. They don't necessarily have to enforce people to go back to work. But I know for certain jobs, like for example, what I used to do inside sales, it's better to be in an office working with other people because you hear other people making sales and that gets you motivated. That kind of like pushes you because salespeople are super competitive. So it's like you need to be in that environment if you want to succeed.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
No, and as I say, I think there's a place for every company to have different things, right? So like if you're in sales, being around other salespeople is huge, right? You're talking about strategies, talking about how to do this, right? And you get to see facial expressions versus hearing it on the phone. I just stepped real quick. I'm trying to buy another place, and the seller is getting weird. And so to me, it's throw money at it, right? Oh, hey, it's going like this. Nope, cool. I'll put a $5,000 earnest money deposit. That way I show you I'm really serious about making this happen, right?
Yep.
And it's going to look at the person. They're going to go, oh man, he's not lying about this, right? Like hey, if that's what it takes, I'll throw 10,000. I don't care. Like whatever it makes you comfortable, I'll throw it down and say, hey, this. And so, working from home, like as he said, and when you're in sales, man, you want to do that. But your situation, right? I mean, no,
I'm never going back to the office.
Nobody's getting riled up from selling some insurance, or it's not selling insurance, from screwing people over on insurance.
They're getting riled up. I don't need to be there for it.
Right. It's so now sorry, apartment number 2. So apartment number 1, you guys just renovated way too quick and had too low of a my God, occupancy. So now number 2, what happened with that 400 unit?
Same such scenario.
You have great contractors. Shit.
It's not that we overdid it on the renovation. It's just our occupancy rate is low.
Yeah.
It's just it was poorly managed. Let's put it that way. And
sure.
And then so we're in this firestorm where now we need to have capital call where everybody has, if you contribute 100,000, if you invest in 100,000, you have to contribute 13%, which is 13,000 to the $3 million that we currently need. If you don't contribute, then your shares gets diluted, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I guess to be clear, so when you guys are renovating, when we say 1/3, right? So now you guys are doing it as tenants move out, and then you're renovating the unit, or are you going in and kicking out 1/3 of the building and then renovating the unit?
Yeah. So yeah, we don't kick out the tenants. It's just upon taking over, when you switch ownerships, typically there's a lot of turnovers, right? There's
Of
people
course.
there's people you got to evict, there's people moving out because new ownership and et cetera, et cetera. So we just renovate whatever is currently not renting. So that's, and then whenever there's a turnover, whenever we can evict, whenever we evict someone, then that's we'll continue to do so. So the first project, it was at, I think, 89% occupancy or 90%. So it wasn't that high when we took over the project. The problem with that property, why marketing didn't catch us, is because we had literally hundreds of work orders backed up, and we were not aware of that upon taking over the project.
Sure.
So that was another mistake, lesson learned.
Yeah. Um, and that's whenever something's managed by another property manager, when I go to purchase the building, I talk to the other property management company and I say, hey, show me all the information on these tenants, show me this. And I want to see every work order. I want to see how often are these people calling, right? Even if it's a duplex, I'm like, how often are these people calling? What are the things that are getting destroyed? And you'll find, right? Oh, hey, I've had this toilet snaked 10 times, in the past year. And it's like, okay, hey, what's going on? I had a lady flushing diapers, right? And okay, great. Like see yourself out, right? That's how I tell people. I'm like, this isn't something we did. Um, and then so Dallas is getting going. You guys have purchased it. You're working on your renovations. Um, what's the next step for you?
The next step, well, it's just continue to build my network, continue to build my social online presence, and then continue to do more deals.
Okay.
So as I get more experience and continue to learn more about the business and what I need to know, because it's a good thing that my first two deals, it hasn't been a smooth ride, so to speak. I think I take all these stressful moments as a learning opportunity.
Sure. Um, and I guess I have to ask. I mean, I think anybody that would know a little bit about this would know who Grant Cardone is, right? I mean, he's one of the best syndicators that are out there. Why are you not working for Grant with Grant? Why are you choosing to do an opposite thing?
Um, well, of course, everybody wants to work with Mr. 10X.
Right.
But how much time does he have to give me, right? He might just send me an email and that's it. And there's, to get into his mentorship program, it probably costs hundreds and hundreds of thousands. So I don't have that kind of money.
Right.
So I can do is settle for what I can find for myself, right? And then that's just naturally going out to network with people and finding like-minded people and also attract the people that I attract. So that's the way I look at things.
So, you mentioned you started networking about 3 years ago. Could you tell me what you do for networking?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a bunch of podcast shows, I'm pretty sure just like yours, that talk about real estate, right? You just pick one or two and you listen to it, and then eventually they're going to be hosting their own in-person event, conferences, it's like a marketing strategy, and you just attend those events. I started out with, so during lockdown, one of my investors introduced me to the show called Real Estate Guy Radio Show. I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
are that. Oh, you are.
I
Okay.
have. Yeah, I say.
Yeah. So I started listening to that show religiously, like literally every day, since I had nothing to do during lockdown. And that's when I started to started to get into syndication, because they talked about syndication so much, like doing bigger deals, easier to scale. I didn't understand any of that back in 2020. And then finally, as soon as we opened back up, end of 2020, I went out to Texas to network with these people. And I learned a lot, but I knew that I was still missing a lot of pieces of the puzzle. So then I invested even more by going to their biggest event called Investor Summit, where they invite Robert Kiyosaki, Ken McElroy, all these heavy hitters. Where we go to Belize for 10 days and we network with people, learn from each other, and it's like 10,000 to be there. And so I constantly did that for, between 2020 to 2022 until I finally found my business partner. And that's how I started syndicating my first deal.
Okay. No, that's great. Say, and it costs $10,000 to go to these types of things, but you're learning, right? I mean, you're gaining so much knowledge from doing these types of things, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I was in a buddy network. I don't know. I went to a buddy's house and we're both in a spot where it's like, hey, we have to change some mindset, do some things. And he's like, look, I just dropped 10 grand on another course for something because what I was doing isn't working anymore. It's not getting the performance that I want. And so he's like, hey, now I'm back on the hustle. I'm on the grind. And he goes, and I was like, look, you're like every college kid, right? When you're in high school, you don't give a crap. When you actually pay for it, now you care, right? And he goes, yeah, that's exactly it. And I was like, and so we were talking quite a bit, and we were talking about his side, my side. I market, but I'm the laziest marketer I know. I'll cold call for 7 days, get really annoyed, and then stop. And it's like, no, you have to consistency is key for me. So, actually I have to write it down. I was going to write it in my car, but I ran out of sticky notes. For me, I'm going to be sending letters every day, a certain amount. I'm going to mail them out, things like that. And it's just consistency, pull my list, do all my stuff. So what drew you to syndication? You kind of mentioned a few things about scaling and things, but like why'd you choose syndication versus I guess small multis or owning it by yourself?
I think it's just like I said, like I mentioned earlier, first thing is it's the scalability, right? When the Real Estate Guy radio show talked about how
Oh, we froze. While we wait for him to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry,
Jim, you froze on us.
So you said when the Real Estate Guy podcast talked about, and then you kind of froze on us. So if you wouldn't mind repeating that.
Yeah. So it's like the scalability, right? So they kept pitching about how the work it takes for you to deal with one condo versus 100+ unit apartment, it's the same amount of work. And I can definitely I definitely concur to that, because I dealt with tenant, toilet, and trash, and I feel like at the end of that cycle I had to delegate the task regardless. So now that I'm thinking bigger, I'm playing the bigger game. Not only can I scale easier, like for example, like if you own 100 single family versus 100+ unit apartment, you have to take care of 100 roofs versus maybe 3-4 roofs, right? That's a scalability that they're talking about. But not only that, you're able to attract higher caliber people to work with you, property managers who are more well savvy, experience how to deal with work orders and stuff like that. You're also attracting top real estate agents to work with you, lenders, and so forth. So that's the part that I find it attractive. But at the end of the day, you got to really do what makes you happy, right? What serves your purpose. And I've always wanted to help others. I think my core value is being able to help others and not just myself reach financial freedom. The ability to give back to everyone who has been extremely supportive, help my mentors reach their goal faster, to my parents who made sacrifice to bring me to America, and friends who believed in me through thick and thin. And so I'm surrounded by people who inspire me to be a better version of myself. So that's through real estate syndication is the way I give back.
Okay. And I get, because there's plenty of things out there like storage facilities, there's warehousing, right? In the larger scale of things. Why are you guys choosing, I guess, residential versus something like storage and warehouse or commercial frontage and things like that?
Yeah, so I picked multifamily because I believe it's the most stable asset class you can get yourself into, because I did some study where back in 2008 during the subprime mortgage crash, 4% of the homes went into foreclosure, while only 0.4% of multifamily went into foreclosure. That tells you how stable the asset class is. And I also did some digging on that. Typically, lender does not want to take over 100+ unit apartment building because they don't know how to manage it. So they'll do whatever it takes to work with you, even if in tough times.
Sure.
So that's why I chose multifamily. But there's definitely potential down the road to get into other asset class, like you mentioned, storage, industrial, and so forth. Whatever makes sense at the stage of my life.
Sure. And where let's see, where do you retire? So where do you retire? Where do you stop doing this? At what point? How many units? How much income? Like when are you just going to be done?
I don't have an end goal at this moment. All I know is that I want to be able to raise as much capital as I can, that I have so much capital, then I'm going to transition to become a lead sponsor. And once I become a lead sponsor, I don't know what kind of deals I'll be doing, but the goal is definitely be maybe the next Donald Trump,
Sure.
because there's transfer of wealth, right? When he loses all that wealth has to be going somewhere. So I want to be taking over that wealth.
Sure. Let's see. And when I look at this, and do you, with your partners, if you go find a deal, do you have to give them part of the deal, or can you choose to do it by yourself?
It just depends. It depends on how big the size of the deal. Let's just say if I find a nice 8-unit apartment building in LA, I can probably syndicate that or JV that deal amongst just between my friends and my family, right?
Sure.
But if it's a deal that I feel like I need more team members, I need more help, I need more hands, then I will definitely explore partnerships, because partnerships makes things easy. And that's another thing that I was referring to, building my network. I feel like the bigger network I build, the easier it is for me to get things done. And because this business is all about relationship, as you know, as a real estate investor, it's all about relationship.
Yeah. It's I have friends that are financially well more successful than me, and they said, what's one of the biggest things? And I said, look, relationship building is going to be the biggest key for you, right? I've been in this game for 13 years now, and I learned it very young. And they're like, oh, I don't get anything from going to these meetups. And I was like, no, you'll get it. It just doesn't come instant gratification, right? You send out something, you get an instant call back. Like, this is, you're gonna want this for the rest of your life. And so I think when you look at, you want to stay in the Sun Belt area. Now, are you trying to find deals, or do you have somebody else that does that? So is your main focus currently just raising capital?
Yes.
Okay. So, and what are you guys trying to do, accredited or non-accredited, or do you not care? You just want to make the deal happen?
I don't care. I just want to make the deal happen.
Okay.
That's why I'm trying to build my own audience, find my own tribe, that look at the end of the day, I don't want this to just be transactional. I'm in this for the long run,
Sure.
and I want my investors to also be with me for the long run. If they do start to invest, I want to continue to help them make money and continue to help them reach their goal as soon as they as possible. And we're going to be in this for the long run. We're going to be here for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Sure. And what's your guys' minimum requirement to syndicate? So
In the current market, it's 50,000
okay.
per deal. Yeah.
Um,
But when the market was doing hot, like 2 years ago, it was 100,000. So it just depends.
sure. I say, and I think everybody, every syndicator, I guess, or syndication group has their own minimums and things like that. So, um, I think you guys are on track with the 70/30 with the 8% preferred returns. I 50,000, that's, you guys are looking at 200 units and above kind of a thing. Uh, I say, I know I've been in some syndications where it's been 20,000 or sorry, 25. I've never been 20, 25,000 minimum. And I've been in some where it's 250 minimum. So I think you have to figure out what you're comfortable with and find the right team of syndicators, right? So, if I'm investing my money, I have to trust the person, trust that they're doing something I want to see. I want to see that they're getting action. So I guess I want to change this around a little bit because now it brought me to a thing. So if I'm an investor, what are some questions I should be asking you?
Number one thing, track record, experience. What's your team look like? What's your background in real estate? These are all pretty valid question, I would say. And how long have you been in this industry, and how, like, have you exited any deals yet? Have you partnered with these people before? These are all pretty valid questions, I would say.
Sure. Um, and let's say, what are some questions that you ask for your investors, right? For people that would want to invest, what are some of those things?
I typically just ask what is the goal? Like what are you looking to accomplish? Are you looking to, and same questions too, pretty much. Like, well, I would ask, what's the background? Have they invested in real estate? Are they familiar with what is syndication and so forth? Because I just had an investor call yesterday. I'll give you an example. The guy called me, and I thought he wanted passive income, but he said no, he wants to get in the deal. He's never invested. He's like 50-year-old, never invested in real estate. He wants to get some help. He wants to know how to start and so forth. So I just basically break it down for him, like, because he listened to one of my podcasts and he was able to relate to me, and he wants to see if I can kind of guide him in a way, because he's trying to get his foot in the door while he's struggling with his wife. His wife
Sure.
is like very risk averse.
Sure.
So
And
yeah.
now, sorry, are you married?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so right, you don't have to worry about that aspect of things, right?
Yeah.
I deal with, I I share my buddy's stories all the time, but I have a buddy that him and his wife uh they bought a house because it was, it's a massive house, right? It has an indoor pool and things, and they were going to Airbnb it.
Mhm.
Well, after they make this giant move, they sell their mansion here and move to a mansion down there, and come to find out, she doesn't really feel comfortable with Airbnb, so they didn't bring in the income that they wanted to. Things kind of changed. It wasn't like they were on the same page, and it's like, oh man, you didn't. So they've now fixed that issue, and then they're up here into another freaking mansion. But good for that. Say, love them to pieces. But so it really is like my wife. I can't say she's risk adverse. She just doesn't give a shit. I say I love her to pieces, but um, I run through every deal, right? My wife, she just hears numbers all day, and she's like, "Yep, okay, sounds great," right? And I'm like, "No, it's a horrible freaking deal. Like, why?" I'll try to test her sometimes too. Hey, would you buy this? Yeah, yeah, sure, sounds great. No, no, it's a horrible deal. Oh, that's what I meant. I meant, man, who would buy that? She'll change constantly. So, um, but now, so he wants to be an active investor versus a passive investor. Then, correct?
Right, right.
Okay.
So yeah, so I trying to figure out, like, what is it that they're looking to accomplish, because everybody has different goals, and everyone is also at a different stage, of investing. And so that's the one thing I try to figure out first
Sure.
before I dive too deep into, you know, what I do.
Sure. Now, will you so with somebody like him, will you help him with your real estate license, try to find um a duplex or a single family or something like that?
Yeah, so he actually lives in Central Florida. There's no way for me to help him out except refer anybody that I know out there.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, that's pretty much what I did. I connected him with an agent that I trust, and you know, that's all I can do. You know,
Sure.
and I told him, look, like if I ever come across any off-market deals in Central Florida, he would be the first person I think of, because I'm all about you know, adding as much value to, you know, people that need help with, you know, when it comes to real estate investing.
Yep. Yes, and that's but you can say, just a heads up, like that's one thing you could do too much of. Sometimes you're giving too much for everybody else and you're not getting in return. So, but you, on the other hand, you're constantly asking for
Who does
people.
that remind me of?
Say you're constantly asking people, hey, do you want to invest in things like that? So at least you're still working on your side. Sometimes I forget to ask for things I need.
Nick gives too much information and
Yeah.
doesn't get enough out of it.
Say no, it'll come back around. It's just,
It takes a while.
yeah, sometimes I forget to go, hey, I'm looking for a house. So
Well, again, let's call back to networking for a minute.
yeah,
I'm always stunned when you bring in some of these stories. You had the one guy that you saw at Home Depot,
yeah,
and he called you like 2 months later, and he's like, "Hey, you want to buy my house?"
Yeah.
Just because you sat there bullshitting with him for 5 minutes at Home Depot.
Yeah.
And you're great at that.
oh yeah. It's because my mom's that crazy lady that does that shit. So, but no matter where I am, I mean that's that's what I'm gonna do, right? I don't know. There's very certain places I don't tell people what I do, but otherwise, yeah, I mean I'm out there doing what I do. And now, all right, if you wouldn't mind, I guess, could you tell us what your best advice in life, no matter what it is, whether it's real estate focused, whether it's anything, what's your best advice you would give anybody that's listening?
The best advice?
Yep.
Well, I guess I'll keep it short. I mean, just don't be afraid of being wrong, because being wrong is just an opportunity to find the truth, right? It's and really, you don't need to be an expert in everything. You must know or hang out with an expert.
Sure.
And that's gotten me really far.
Sure. And you said you have a podcast. Say, why don't you plug your podcast?
Yeah, my podcast is Investor to Investor. It's a mastermind group. It's a group that I volunteer for. It's a local real estate meetup that we host an event once a month, first Wednesday of every month, and basically we have a guest speaker that talk about syndication every time, and then we also have sponsors. So that group, I run the podcast show for that group. It's called Investor to Investor.
Okay. And then that's found on all platforms.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make sure I link that in the show notes.
Yeah, of course. Say if anybody wanted to get in touch with you to find out more information, to be an investor, to do anything like that, how would they get a hold of you?
They can check out my website, formosainvesting.com. They can also connect me on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, at Formosa Investing.
Okay. And any questions that we didn't answer or
Ask.
How many questions? No, any questions we didn't ask that you wanted to answer?
No, it's this is probably the longest interview I've done, but I had fun. I appreciate all the laughs.
Yeah, we try to keep it fun.
We try to keep it very fun.
So stay with us for just a couple seconds. Everybody, as always, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family.
We forgot that at the beginning.
I'll edit that in. We'll just sound like me twice.
Sure you will. If you're on Twitch with us, hang out for a few. We might do a second episode tonight.
Yeah.
We're not sure yet.
Say, take care. We'll see you guys next week.
You've dialed in.
To Bucks and Brews, you might hear something
You can use.
like tips on your cash or tips on the suds.
You're gonna want to
The
use.
smarts of these
Cause
stuff.
they know the brews.
And they know the Bucks, and they know they can't help the stubborn fucks.
So listen up, cause shit's not funny.
Save yourself some
Beer money. Bucks.
and brews.
Bucks and
Bucks
brews.
and brews.
Brews.
Bucks and brews.